Uh, Today is September 12th, 2019, and the point of this video is a short instructional video on how to do CT1 right here, your first paper, okay? Alrighty, so I am in student view mode, so this is pretty much your menu, what it looks like, okay? And hopefully you guys have been following the lectures and you're learning a lot. So we're going to backtrack now by going into CT1. The point of this is now to use your now newly acquired knowledge about population dynamics, generations, cultures, sociological factors, and some of the economic consequences of the differences in population. All right? So that's the point of this. So I'm going to go right through everything you need to know about getting the data and making your paper right now, okay? All right, before I do that though, I can't help myself. I want to show you this. This was today, all right, down at Trestles. This is my gym. This is where I go surfing. So I surfed Cotton's Point today. Water temperature was 74 degrees. It was awesome. It was a beautiful day. This is after I got out of the water this morning. It was super fun. You play hard, you pay hard, though. I kind of had a little incident with see if you can see it, my fin there, all right? So I just kind of went, gosh, all right? That's the way it goes. That's also why I have a dimple right here on my face, okay? You can see one side I have a dimple, and the other side I don't. It's because my fin went through my face about 5 years ago. So, yeah, this kind of stuff happens. So, anyways, okay. So, all right, let's go on to the reality of life, and we're going back to CT1. So, just follow the directions, okay? A big part of life is just, you follow directions, and then you're going to get full credit. You follow directions, and you'll get your 2019 taxes submitted, and there'll be no problems, okay? You follow directions, and your investments will work out well. All right, so here we are. All right, so we want you to go to the World Data Bank. Again, this is a really super useful resource that you guys are going to be able to wow other professors, and more importantly, wow bosses, or just use it. Maybe you run your own business and use this data to make projections, okay? And there's so much economic data in here. It's really, really awesome. We're going to focus in on population analysis. So if you go to here, it takes you to the actual World Data Bank homepage, and again, it shows you all kinds of different categories, who we are, what we do, blah blah blah. Okay, I really encourage you to kind of go through and take a look at what's going on. All right, so you guys are now going to gather data, okay, and you're going to gather data that's useful for applying the knowledge you have in this course. Okay, so 3 categories of data. All right. You're going to look at birth rate, crude birth rates per 1,000 people, compare across countries. You're going to look at age dependency ratio, okay? And the point of this is looking at the old people and then looking at how they rank as a percentage of working age population, okay? Because it's a working age population that needs to finance the old age of many, many people if they don't have their own financial security. All right, so when we look at Medicare, we look at Social Security, it's the working age that finances the old. All right, we're going to compare that across countries, and then lastly, we're just going to get just raw data of how much of the population is 65 and above. What the percent of the total is. Okay, all righty. So that's what we want you to do, and I'm going to go through this and show you how to do it. Okay, all righty. So again, this lists, the 3 categories, okay? It tells you right here, we want you to collect data from 3 very different countries, okay? All right. We want you to collect data for the world, and we want you to collect data for the US, all right? So the graphs that you're going to generate, you're going to have 5 different lines that are reflective of the topic, birth rate, age dependency, and population over 65. So you generate 3 graphs, and each graph is going to have 4 countries and the world, so 5 lines, okay? And you can look at it over time, all right? So it shows you right here, all right? You're going to create these graphs. This is what we want you to do, okay? All right, the website's going to do this for you. It's really easy, okay? And then you just copy it and put it into your document that you're creating, all right? Your paper, all right. Okay, you're going to see the countries are listed alphabetically, okay? We want you to attach the 3 graphs, okay, to your paper, and then you're going to discuss it, all right? And that's the critical part here, where you want you to tell us why things play out the way they do, okay? We want you to pick at least one developing country, okay? What is a developed versus a developing country, okay? These are categorized, okay, by the World Data Bank, United Nations, things like that. So we just put this in here. Here's a list of developing countries, meaning that they do not have the economic well-being that developed countries have, okay? So this is a list of developing countries, okay? Alrighty. And it's right here, it's put in by the United Nations, right? So if you want to get more information on that, you just click on it, and that's what this graph is coming from. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. All right, let's generate some data here, all right? So there's 2 different ways of looking at the data. You can look at a map or a chart. The chart is the one that is by far the best, but we put the map on here because you'll see that it is another neat way of doing it, okay? Boom, okay, I'm going right in here. All right, so what are we looking at here? We're looking at the crude birth rate per 1,000 people. That's what this says, so just read it, and you can see as a function of time from 1960 to when the last data was acquired to 2015, okay, we can see how the world birth rate, crude birth rate per 1,000 people had a spike, okay, and then decline like that. All right, very cool. So what is it we're going to do? Okay, we're going to choose 3 countries. We're going to choose the United States, right? We're going to go back and check and make sure, what is it that Dr. Walsh said? All right, we want to collect data from 3 very different countries, the world and the US, okay? 5 lines. All right, so we're coming up over here. Alrighty, and we're going to check. Let's start with the United States. See, everything is listed nice and alphabetically. Okay, so I'm going to go find the United States, and that's going to be the first thing I'm going to do. There we are. Boom. I'm going to click on that. Okay, it takes you back up there, and there is the graph United States. All right, so birth rate, what's happening here? What was happening in 1960? Why was the birth rate so high? Okay. You guys remember that? Okay. All right, the baby boomers. Okay. I'm 1956. Okay. And then, you know, what happens? Say, let's look at 1980, 20 years later. We got baby boomers making babies. Okay. That's what that is. Boop, 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 boop. And then it's another bump with these guys made babies. But you're seeing that at a preference, people are having less kids. All right. So that's the United States. Where'd the world go? Dang. We're going to have to put the world in as well. Okay. All right. First, I'm going to choose a developing country. All right. Afghanistan's in the news. Let's check it out. All right. Now you can see the scale changed. Okay, because Afghanistan has such a high birth rate that that the United States graph doesn't look so amazing because we had to alter the scale here. All right. So that's 1, Afghanistan. What about my ancestors? Okay, the Irish. Okay, F-G-H-I, Ireland. All right. Well, there you go. Okay, so here's Ireland. Going down, 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 down. All right, so the Irish people are not replacing themselves either. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, how about Guatemala? Let's check it out. All right, and look at that. Guatemala's right up there. Okay, all right. I'm curious, how does Guatemala stack up with Mexico? Let's go find Mexico. Alrighty, and Mexico. I click on that, and there we are. So here's Guatemala, here's Mexico. So you see that political differences, sociological differences, there is a decline, but you see Guatemala lagged behind Mexico. Something was going on here in Mexico like that. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I put in an extra one there. All right. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I got to find the world. Go all the way down Okay, and world. There's so many different ways to look at the data too. See, it's all, and it's amazing. Okay, so there's world. All right, and where there's the world, there it is right here. The world is purple. It's all color coded. It's beautiful. All right, so I've generated the birth rate per 1,000 people. All right, I need to put this figure into my paper. All right, so all I'm going to do, this is with my PC. I would imagine it works the same way with your Mac, but I'm not a Mac person. All right, so I'm going to right click, okay, and it says take a screenshot. That's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to then drag, all right, so that I now have captured what it is I want to do. All right, I'm going to hit copy. Okay, you could also download. It's up to you. All right, I'm going to go into my document. I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit paste. Lo and behold, there is my first figure. Okay, what is that again? Right? Oh, okay. Maybe I should have included this stuff, which you can't. Okay, so you could include this, or maybe you would like to include some information, right? So you can go to details, okay? All right, and it says what it is right here. So you just go like this, all right? All right, I highlight it, I hit copy, okay? And there's all this information. Whatever you do, you cite this, okay? This is not your writing, you cite it, okay? I can go back over here, all right? And have a little legend at the bottom if you want. Hit paste, there it is, okay? All right, so now I have that information. So I think you see what's going on. It's pretty straightforward, okay? All righty. Okay, let's go back here. All right, so again, there's so many things that you can look at, okay? So I just encourage you to kind of hunt around. It's amazing what this website has to offer. And, you know, people all over the world use it, all over the world. All right. So I'm going to get out of here, okay? And that was one graph. What's another graph that's kind of interesting? How about the dependency ratio for old? Okay, we'll look at this dependency ratio. I'm going to hit chart. All right, there it is. Okay, the number of old people versus as a percentage of the working age population. Okay, so I could just, you know, I'm not going to go through the countries, but again, we could just hit right click. We're going to take a screenshot, okay? I'm going to go like this, okay? There it is. I'm going to say copy. I'm going to go back into my Word document, okay? And I'm going to hit paste. There it is, okay? What is it I'm looking at again? God, I don't remember. Let's go back to the World Data Bank. We're going back over here. I'm going to hit the details, all right? And it tells me what it is, okay? All right, so age dependency ratio old is the ratio of older dependents, all right? Maybe your parents or grandparents, okay? Older than 64 to the working age population, all right? So if you're an only child, okay, and you have two parents, okay, so you can see how that ratio works out right there, okay? All right, so that's what it is. This describes, again, how they go about the data. I'm just going to copy, okay? I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit paste, and there. What do we see worldwide? What is the trend? Okay, sorry, let's go back here. What's the trend? Okay, there are more older people compared to, as a ratio, than there are younger working age population. You see this right here? That means that, sadly, you are going to have to finance the increase in older people, and that's what this trend's all about right here. So you can ask yourself, you know, what's going on here? So we can take a look at different countries. Okay, so how about Canada? All right, we run in there, and boom, you see that it's skyrocketed right there. Look at how much bigger that was in the world. Let's compare Canada to the world real quickly. Okay, and okay. There it is, world. So how does Canada stack up against the world? You see that they have a lot more older people, okay? So a lot more financing by younger people of these older people compared to the rest of the on average world, okay? All right, remember we did Afghanistan? Let's check them out. Okay, look at that. All right. So there's a pretty equivalent ratio here of young to old people. Right? Old people die off in Afghanistan, sadly. Okay, so there you go, and you have a lot more births. So you can see how that works. Okay, so I think you get the idea. Okay, please follow these instructions. Okay, not only do you put the figures in. Okay, how does the U.S. stack up? Okay, and the other countries compared to world averages. Okay, categorize the countries that you've put in there. Okay. Tell us what you can about the countries that you chose, maybe why you chose them, what you think is unique about them. All right. Why are things illustrated the way they do? How do they play out, which is a colloquial statement. Okay. We want you to explain and analyze the data. Okay. What are the societal conditions in Afghanistan, okay, compared to the United States that reflects the changes that we were just looking at? All right. All right. So that's how it works. And when you get done, okay, here's your rubric that we're an approximate rubric that we're using for grading, and these are frequently asked questions. Again, here's an example of the graph that you're going to make, and here it is. You upload it right through turn it in Critical Thinking Assignment 1. Okay. All right. So that's it. Fairly short video. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Don't forget, when is it due? Let's check it out, man. When is it due? Okay. It is due September 23rd. Boom. That's why I'm doing this right now. All right. All right. So we'll see you next time, guys.